Hi my dear students, welcome back to Gurudeva online class. Myself Siddesh, 7th social science teacher. Dear student, in the last class we had discussed one of the very important lesson from the history part, that integration of Karnataka and border disputes. So today we are going to discuss the lesson Australia, the flattest continent, from the geography part. Dear student, as you know that there are 7 continents in the world. Those are the first one Asia, Africa, Europe, North America, South America, Antarctica and Australia. So today we are going to discuss about Australia continent. So in this lesson we are going to discuss the few important objectives. Those are the first one, location and physical setting of Australia, the physical divisions, rivers, natural vegetation of Australia, agricultural and animal husbandry of Australia, minerals and industries of Australia, and one more important point, that population of Australia. Let us discuss one by one. In that first one, location. The Australia, it is located at southern and the eastern hemisphere, and also 10.45 degree and 43.39 degree south latitude, and 113.9 degree and 153.39 degree in the east longitude. And also there was one of the very important line, that the Tropic of Capricorn, it passes through the central of Australia continent. So this was about the location of Australia. So the next one more important point, that extent. The Australia, it is the smallest continent in the both area and as well as population also. And the Australia, it is a double in the size of India and smaller than of USA. And the Australia total area is 76.82 lakhs square kilometers, and in the north to south it extends 3,940 kilometer, and west to east 4,350 kilometer, and the total coastal lines, it has 19,310 kilometer. So this is the extent of Australia continent. The Australia, this word derived from the Latin word that Austral. The Austral means south, and the capital city of Australia, that Canberra. And this Australia, it was found by the James Cook. And there were 10,000 islands located between the central and southern Pacific Ocean. So that we can call as a Oceania. In among those, the Australia also, it was one of the a very important continent. Let us discuss physical setting of Australia continent. The Australia continent, it is located between the Indian Ocean and the Pacific Ocean. And Australia continent, it bound by the many important sea. Those are in the northwest Timor Sea and Arthur Sea, in the northeast Torres Strait and Coral Sea, in the southeast Tasmania Sea. If we see in the south, the Great Australian Bight. So this is about the physical setting of Australia continent. The next one more important point from the Australia continent, that physical divisions. Let us discuss about the physical divisions of Australia. The Australia, out of the total land surface in Australia, 94% is less than 600 meters above the sea level, so that it is comprising of flat lowland. For that purpose, Australia continent we can call as the flattest continent in the world. And also this Australia continent we can call also desert continent, because of the Australia continent almost all it occupied by the desert area. For that purpose, Australia continent we can call also desert continent. And also Australia continent we can call as ancient Gondwana land. And the basis of topography, the Australia physical divisions, we are going to divide into 3 important parts. The first one, the eastern islands. The second one, the central lowland. And the third one, the western plateau. Let us discuss one by one. In that first one, the eastern island. Its name indicate it located at in the part of the eastern island, and this it extends from Cape York in the north and Bass Strait in the Tasmania south. And here we can see one of the very important range, that the Great Dividing Range located in the part of the eastern island. And this, the Great Dividing Range, it steep slopes in the eastern part and slopes to the western part. And the Great Dividing Range, they formed a formidable barrier to the early settlers who reached to the eastern coast of Australia. So they came to be called as the Great Dividing Range. And also in the New South Wales, it has steep slopes, so that we called this Great Dividing Range like as a Australian Alps and as well as New England ranges. And also in this, the eastern islands, it has a few important peaks also. Among those, the one of the very important and the largest peak, that Mount Kosciuszko, it is one of the very important highest peak in the Australia continent. It has 2230 meter height. So this is about the eastern islands. Let us discuss the second physical divisions of Australia continent, that the central lowland. The central lowland, it extends from the north, the Gulf of Carpentaria, to the south, the Encounter Bay. And the central lowland, it lies the west of eastern island. And also the central lowland, it has inland drainage and the world largest artesian basin located in the part of the central lowland. And this central lowland, it has a three important basin. Those are, the first one, the Murray-Darling Basin, the second one, the Lake Erie Basin, and the third one, the Carpentarian Lowland. Let us discuss the one by one basin. In that first one, the Murray-Darling Basin. The Murray-Darling Basin, it is located at north and it is separated from the Erie Basin. And also the Murray-Darling Basin, it is very useful for the agricultural. And the Murray-Darling Basin, it is the lowest part of the Australian continent. So this is about the basin, that the Murray-Darling Basin. And the next one important basin, that the Lake Erie Basin. The Lake Erie Basin, it has a many lakes. Almost all here we can see only salt lakes. And also it has a barren desert. For that purpose, here we can see very less population. Almost all this area, it is covered by the desert area. So this is about the Lake Erie Basin. The third one important basin, that the Carpentaria Lowland. The Carpentaria Lowland, it lies to the north of Lake Erie Basin, and this separated from the Barkly Plateau. And also here we can see the two important rivers also. Those are, the first one Flinders and the second one Mitchell. So this is about the basin, that the Carpentaria Lowland. The next, one more important physical divisions of Australia continent, that the Western Plateau. The Western Plateau, it extends the Gulf of Carpentaria to Onslow, Perth and Albany to the east. And this tableland occupies more than 2/3 of the Australia continent. And also in this, the Western Plateau, it has the few important desert also. Almost all the Western Plateau, it covered by the desert. So here the few important desert are, the first one, the Great Sandy Desert, the Great Victoria Desert and the Gibson Desert. These are the a few important desert area we can see in the Western Plateau of Australia continent. And also here we can see the two important hillocks also. Those are, the first one Musgrave and MacDonnell. So these are the two important hillocks located in the place of the Western Plateau. So this is about the physical division of Australia continent. Let us discuss the one more important point from the Australia continent, that rivers system. Dear student, as you know that Australia almost all it covered by the desert area. So that here we can see very less rivers. For that purpose, here we can see the high temperature. And almost all in Australia continent, the rivers rises in the eastern island. So let us discuss which are the important rivers we can see in the Australia continent. The first one, Murray River. The Murray River, it is one of the very important river in Australia continent, and this rises near the Mount Kosciuszko, and later it flow west, southwest, and finally it join into the Bay of Encounter. And the Murray River, it has a three important tributary also. Those are the first one, Darling and Lachlan and Murrumbidgee. These are the three important tributary of Murray River. And the next, Mitchell River, Gilbert River and Flinders Rivers. So these rivers flow into the northeast and finally join to the Gulf of Carpentaria. And the next, the Dolly, Victoria and Fitzroy. These rivers the flow the north and the northwest and finally join to the Timor Sea. And the next, Cooper Creek, Diamantina, Mukamba. These rivers they drain into Lake Erie. Other important rivers like Murchison, Avon, Blackwood. So these drain into the Indian Ocean. So these are the a few important rivers we can see in the Australia continent. And Australia, it has the few important lakes also. Let us discuss which are the important lakes located in the Australia continent. Those are Lake Erie, Lake Gorinder, Lake Torrens and Lake Blash. So these are the a few important lakes located in the Australia continent. Almost all these are the salt lakes. Among those, the one of the very important and the largest lake, that Lake Erie. And also here we can see one of the very important world largest monolithic rocks, that Ayers rocks. So this is the one of the very important world largest monolithic rocks. Let us discuss the climate about the Australia continent. My dear student, as you know that the Tropic of Capricorn, it passes on the central part of the Australia continent. So that here we can see the tropical and subtropical climate. And here we can see high temperature. Western part of the Australia, it has hot desert. In the north part, we can see monsoon climate. In the south part, we can see the Mediterranean type of climate. If you see in the winter season, as you know that my dear student, the Australia, it is located in the southern hemisphere. So that the season of Australia are opposite to the north hemisphere. When the summer in the northern hemisphere, during that time we can see winter season in the Australia continent. And almost all that winter season, it extends from the June to August. And here the temperature is low but the pressure is high. Here in the winter season we can see very less rain, but the climate is dry and hot. But the Tasmania is too different compared to this, because as you know that the Tasmania, it is the island. So this is about the winter season of Australia continent. Let us discuss about the summer season of Australia continent. During the period of December to February, this period we consider as a summer season of Australia continent. So during this time we can say high temperature and low humidity, and the temperature is high in the part of West Australia, then East Australia, and also here also we can see very less rainfall. And the south and southeast, these two parts receive the more rain during the summer season. And also in the summer season, almost all Australia, it has monsoon type of rain climate. And the cyclones in Australia continent are known as Willies. Annual rain of Australia continent in the part of southeastern, northern and southwestern 75 centimeter, in the desert area 25 centimeter. So this is about the climate of Australia continent. My dear student, in this class we discussed location and extent of Australia, physical setting of Australia, physical divisions of Australia, river system of Australia, and what is the climate of Australia. So remaining we can discuss in the next class. Bye my dear students.